I am Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pao, and I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network. I welcome you to the Spanglish Sport World and Heart Network on Single TV channels 249, 250, and 251. Please remember to download Single TV app on the respective app stores. When you download it, please rate it and let us know how we're doing our job. Single T, like the app is totally free. So you can find it in Google Chromecast, in Amazon Fire, Fire TV Stick, Roku Stick, and all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Thank you so much for being here. Today in the house, we have Coach Hall. He is a high school coach, soccer coach at Tahlequah Public School, and we're still celebrating teachers. So I welcome him to the house, and I'm grateful to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. This is my second time, and I hope this goes as well as it did the first time. I'm sure it will.
Yeah, yes, it will. It will. So share with our beautiful audience, what is your role as a soccer high school coach?
Oh my God! So I must say, I'm just finishing my 17th year at Tahlequah as a soccer coach and teacher, and from year one to know, I'm a completely different person. My role has changed. My perspective, my point of view, my my goals has changed as a soccer coach. So for me, I think my role is much more than just winning the next game. Because let's say you were to win every single game, you get a state championship. Then what? Does life stop? I don't think so. So my role now is to prepare my guys and the girls that I coached in the past for beyond Tahlequah High School. So when they look back, it's not just oh soccer. So I've got to come every day with a mindset of adding value to every each of my players. So that's my role, adding value to them every day.
That's beautiful. And like you said, it's not just teaching them for that this time that they're spending, with you, but
Yeah.
also like I'm pretty sure you provide them tools that they will use and they use
Oh yeah.
in their future life.
So one of the things that I've and it seems like we're getting right into it, and I'm happy we're doing that. Is one of the things that I coming into this year that I wanted to do differently was to add more than just the X's and O's, the conditioning, the skills, the technical stuff that's involved with soccer. But I went and I brought people in, professionals and tradespeople, people like people that my guys could aspire to be like, you know. So, because my thought is, I've got to prepare them for more than just soccer. And but I said, as a classically trained teacher, that's I treat the soccer team, the soccer training session, it's just like a classroom. And our role as teachers is to prepare them for life after high school. And soccer is just the bait that gets them in. But when we have them, we've got to mold them because they're still learning. Yeah, they're still building. We're hoping they'll form habits that they can use afterwards in a positive way. So that's what I do.
Awesome. Yes, habits are important. And I guess we can go back to habits in a little bit.
Yeah,
What inspired you to work with the youth? Because it takes someone with a skill to
yeah,
deal with, not just to deal with them, but it's like to help with their growth, because at that time in their development, their
yeah.
brain is they're very oppositional. So what inspired you to
Oh, there's so many things. So many things. Um, Let me go back a little bit. I'll share a story with you. It was, I can't remember the year, but I was a middle school gym teacher. And I'm in the gym and we were getting our lines together to leave the gym. And a student walked up to me afterwards and he said, Coach Al, can I ask you a question? And I said, sure. What's your question? And he goes, can you be my mentor? And I go, you can't say no. But what that did for me was it made it clear that somebody's watching you. Yeah, somebody, these kids are watching you, and they're looking up to you. So you have to be an example. And that moment, it's crazy that that student who was in the fifth grade, he just graduated from OSU with a chemical degree engineer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, chemical engineering degree. I'm sorry, but he was a huge inspiration for me. And since that moment, in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know which of these kids are going to be looking at me as a mentor. So I've always kept that in the back of my mind when I'm working with them. So kids inspire me. Yeah. Another time again was I was coaching girls, and I was struggling because I've always been on the boys. I've played on obviously teams with guys and men, and working with females was different for me. This was what year was it? 2006, 2007. So it was I was learning, and I'm still learning, but I was like introduced to coaching, and over time, a couple of years, I coached the girls for 12 years. I learned how to listen to them. Yeah, I learned patience, and our relationship was really, really productive, and how do you say, appropriate. Yeah, we had an appropriate relation. I had appropriate relationship with with the girls, and they helped me big time. They inspired me as well. So to answer your question, I guess the students inspired me. Then here's another one. Um, they helped me. The girls did help me to learn how to listen more, and they've helped me to be a better husband and a better parent. I know I've got I've got a freshman in high school, so I he inspires me because I've got to teach him how to get things done, and I treat every kid in the school as if they were my kid because that's what I want. I would like every other teacher to treat my son. So Kingston is a big inspiration. And hey, man, and also on a deeper part of this, my mom, yeah, she's always encouraged me. She's a hard worker. Doesn't matter. She'll make sure everybody's doing well, and she'll do without. So she was a huge, she is, not was, and always will be. And then I've got so many other influences that are inspirations to me that I don't even have time to count them all. But as far as being a teacher and a coach, I think my inspiration comes from the kids. Yeah, it's kind of reverse, and because they inspire me so much, I've got to give back to them in a positive way.
That's beautiful. And how they inspire you, then you try to do better for them, and then
Yeah,
you
they're
grow
always
through.
watching. They're always watching. Yeah,
That's
so
beautiful.
that's what I do.
I love it. Girls have more emotions. So I can only imagine how the
Oh my
soccer team.
God! Oh, we had that was
uh,
a 12-year internship for what I'm doing now. They made me a better coach. I had to find different ways to motivate them. And what's crazy is what I use as motivation for the girls, I couldn't do it for the boys because the you know how boys are. And but those were some good times. Yeah, I wouldn't be the coach I am today if it weren't for them.
that's awesome. How do you measure success in your team beyond winning or losing?
I love that question. I really do. So, coming in 17 years ago, The only thing that I wanted to do was win, like get more goals than the other team. That's it. That's the only thing I was focused on. And well, I got a rude awakening. The first season, I had 0 wins. I thought it was going to be easy. The next one, I had one. So um, I started looking at it and see what can I do to get the W's, because that's what I was focused on. But over time, we got so much better. We were winning 10 games a year. I think the most we've won was 12 games a year in one year, and we did that consistently. 10. That excuse me, just for a second. I'll be right back.
But he's at the high school right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. They turn the lights off. I'm sorry. Um, so anyway, from winning was like what we started doing, we
Mhm.
didn't go to games. When we went to games, people expected us to win. It wasn't just like, oh, you guys did well, we were supposed to win. But what happens after that? Yeah. So I started measuring our success with different ways. Yeah. You can't just look at the scoreboard. um how are my kids doing in class? Yeah. A couple of years ago, we were academic state champions. Yeah, when I was on the girls' side. So winning is much more than just keeping score on the scoreboard. Yeah, I win when a kid comes to me and say, "Hey, coach, if it weren't for soccer, I wouldn't be at school." That's a win. Um, Coach, what do I have to do to get into to the college? Because we have those conversations with my boys. Sometimes it's not even about soccer. Hey, I need you to what's happening after high school? I don't know, coach. All right, here's what we're gonna do, Johnny. You got to sit down, set this up, boom, 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 line them out. So, um, on graduation, you see them walk across the stage. That kid I told you that asked me to be his mentor, when I worked with him all through his elementary years, all through his high school years, kept in touch with him while he's in college. That's winning. When you walk into businesses downtown and you see the kids that you had in class, they're successful businessmen and businesswomen. That's winning. When you see them at church with their families, that's winning. So it's not just about the L's. And then um, here's a big win for me. So 2 years ago, our high school got reclassified athletically. We were in the biggest classification, 6A, which means we play teams that have 1,000 more kids than we do sometimes. They have more kids to choose from. What do you do? Quit? No. We competed. We didn't get the results on the scoreboard that we wanted, but a measure that I used was, hey, I can't believe after having the season that we had, none of my boys quit, because they always have a reason to come to practice, to come to train, to go to games. So it's much more than the W's and L's. So that's what we do. We win.
Yay, that's beautiful. Yes. If like once you see them
When you see
with
them, yeah, when you see them more successful outside of soccer, man, that's a big win. Yeah.
what is your coaching philosophy and style?
Well, let's back that up. So, like I said, I'm classically trained as a teacher, and I treat coaching the team as if it's my classroom. It is. I'm a teacher first, and that's what coaches do. And my goal to coming into this was to create an environment where I can teach, give them life lessons. I've obviously coached my sport, but when they're done, they should be able to go and contribute in a positive way outside to society. So it has to be a safe environment, an environment where they can trust me to talk about stuff. Yeah, they've got questions relationship wise that they're struggling with, and they'll trust me enough to come and say, "Hey, coach, I'm having this issue. Can you help me?" Yeah. So that's my that's my style. Create an environment that's safe and respectful. Yeah, where I can help them to develop, because every kid has it in them. Every kid has that in them where they can be successful. So I just like help them to bring it out so they can go contribute outside of soccer when they're done. That's
That's
just my
good.
style.
Yeah, yes. And I think another one that you do, you're probably not mentioning it, is like you help them believe in themselves. You,
Well,
you
I,
give them those tools,
well,
and they,
I hope so.
you know, and
I
they
hope
gain
so.
that doses of confidence here and there. And
Hey, sometimes, um, a little nice job, a dap, a fist bump in the hallway goes a long way. You know, a kid may just need that to lift him up, and that's what I do, man. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but I don't mind. I really enjoy what I do. It doesn't feel like I'm coming to work. There's no kind of, the stress that I put on, that I have as far as work goes, is on game nights. As much as I just said, it's not the L's, it's not the W's. I'm trying to get them. So that's the only time I'm really under any stress. I've got a phenomenal the person I report to. He allows me to do my job. Yeah. He stays behind the scenes. He's really, really supportive. And it's not just him or administration. The administration that I work with right now, that's the vibe I've got. It didn't feel like that the entire time I've been here. But no, I can honestly say, yo, they let you grow. They let you do you. As long as it's there's nothing concerning. Yeah. Um, I've got a really good setup right now at Tahlequah High School as the coach, as a teacher, and I'm looking forward to continuing to do this for a while.
awesome, yeah, the kids need you. So that's, I mean, and you've
Hey,
been giving smoke talks, right, in different schools as well.
yeah, so I have been. I've So my mindset has changed a lot. Like I said, from 17 years ago, where my goal every day is how can I add value to each kid, even if I just interact with them for 30 seconds. It should be a valuable 30 seconds. So I share stuff that I've gone through that I think will help them. So while doing that, I'm like, yo, why just bottle it up and keep it here in Talqua? So I've reached out to um, my colleagues. Well, they're my colleagues. They're my friends that I've coached against past 17 years. And I'm like, hey, I'd like to come out and just say something to your kids, and hopefully that could take them to where they want to go. And the mindset behind that, Miss Guthrie, was um, you have to put your ego aside sometimes when it comes to your own kids. So with my son, if I'm telling him how to do stuff, but if his coach were to tell him the same thing, he listened to his coach instead of, and I'm like, if I were to go and talk to these players, I'll say the same thing that their coaches will say, but because I'm not the face they see every day, they'll be like, oh, okay. So that's the mindset. When I go in, I say the same thing the coaches tell them, but it's coming from a different, yeah, and that's all. Um, like with my son Kingston, um, that's where it started. Like, hey, if Coach Gilbert says, "Yo, I want you to read this book, I want you to watch this podcast, write about it, and then you come and tell us about it in our meetings tomorrow." he stays up and he does it. But if I say, Kingston, here's a book that I'm reading that I want you to check out. No. So, hey man, there's more than one way to skin a cat. But back to speaking, I've got a lot of experiences, valuable experiences, I thought, that I can go out and share with kids. And I share these experiences with my players. I share these experiences with my kids in the gym. I share these experiences with my kids in my health classroom. But it's appropriate, and it's it's what I think it's missing from the mundane going to school thing. They need stuff that I call it practice the theory. And what that is to me is I can tell them something that they'll be able to take and start applying to their lives immediately, instead of like, ooh, I've got to do this and then I got to do this and then because instant gratification is what everybody's in right now. And another thing that I do is I figured out that if you want to communicate, you have to speak their language. And what do I mean by that? 90% of our kids we see now, they walk around like this. So they're glued to their cell phones.
Or they
So,
go like this way.
hey, and I do it too. So, how do you talk to them? So, if I were to find something positive on social media, I'll say, and I may use your son as an example, I may say, Guthrie, that's what I call him. Say, Guthrie, check out this podcast, check out this Instagram page. If it's something positive, and my hope is that over time, if I keep giving them all the positive stuff that's on, I'm speaking their language, the algorithms will say, oh, here you go, here's some more new stuff. In, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what it's just like a way to connect with the kids. Have you ever heard the story about the farmer and the his son? They were trying to move this cow across the field, but the cow was stubborn. They were pulling, and the cow said, "Nope, I'm not going." They were tugging on the tail, and the cow said, "No, I'm not going." And then they had this lady on the farm, and the lady came, and she just stuck her finger in the cow's mouth, like, yeah. And so you have to find that little deal, that little debate. So I use social media as debate. I use soccer as debate. And when I got them, I can start talking to them about more meaningful stuff.
And you know, and sometimes what you're expressing to them, what you're trying to communicate at that time, they think, oh, I don't need it, but I like it. It's interesting what you're saying. And they
Yeah,
pay attention.
yeah,
And then they come to you later and they say, like in my case, I can say, so, hey, Miss Guthrie, remember that conversation we had 6 months ago? I had
yeah.
no clue. I mean, I can't remember
Tons of
because
time.
I said it from my heart.
Yeah,
And they're like, when you were talking, is like everything was so good. And I thought, well, this doesn't really apply to me, but this is good information.
yeah.
Well, guess what? Now I am using it, and I just want to say thank you for sharing that information. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, well, I have no clue what I said because when I talk, I try to speak from my heart.
that's what I do too. All
But
right,
you know,
so Miss Guthrie, here's another thing that I do. So there was a kid at school here, Trinidad. That was his name years ago. His name was Trinidad, and he would help me with some projects outside of school. So we're talking, and he's telling me about his mom's the meals his mom would make, and Nepales. I don't know if I said that correctly, but it's a cactus.
Cactus, yes.
Yeah, and I went to a restaurant after a conversation a couple days later, and I go, "Hey, a Mexican restaurant," and I said, "Do you have the cactus?" And they looked at me like, "What do you know about that?" And they said, "Yeah," and they it wasn't on the menu, but they had it, so they made it for me as a side. I'm like, "Oh, this is so good." No, what I could have gone to that restaurant and ordered whatever is on the menu, and it would have been okay, right? But they made a special meal that's not on the menu. So, what does that have to do with what we're talking about now? I kind of use that as in my health class, for example. All my classes, we're supposed to do this, 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 the menu, right? But every opportunity I get to make that special dish, yeah, I make a special dish and I add it to the menu as a side, and then you'll make a phenomenal meal. That's kind of like an approach I would love for more people to take, where don't just go go to the classroom and just follow the lesson plan to the T. Yeah, that it's gonna be okay. But if you go on and find your little side dish, you make that special meal, the kids are gonna be more accepting and they'll have a better experience, and you will too as a teacher. So that's my
I
story.
love it. I love it. Yes, I mean, it's true because then you are, in my case, I'm teaching science, but if I
Yeah.
attach science to a real story, then they're
Yes.
more likely to link it, and they're not only gaining the science, but also they're getting a little bit of life
Yeah.
experiences or how to
Make that
apply it.
make that phenomenal meal, man. Don't just stick to the
Yeah,
menu. Add more
I
stuff.
love. I need to write down that phrase, quote it, make it a quote, Coach Holt. I
I
will
know.
do that.
Hey, I know I'm kind of different, and
No,
I I'm telling you, I've changed a lot, and I go through the day, and I just have a blast. And sometimes I think people are wondering why I'm in such a good mood, but you start to appreciate things more. Yeah, you look at things. I look at things
uh,
differently. Yeah. So
yeah.
anyway,
Maybe they think it's all Jamaican people, so happy and
um,
grateful.
most times they are, but this week especially, Miss Guthrie, this week is the anniversary. I did a lot. I had a life changing moment in 2014, and that whole experience was what triggered this change in personality, for lack of a better phrase. I had a cyst in my head, a arachnoid cyst. So what that was, the fluids were supposed to be going down my spinal cord and circulating and make my brain work right. Well, there was a block, and it developed a cyst, and I had headaches, terrible headaches. Anyway, um, doctors did a CAT scan and they go, "Yo, we got to fix this." I said, "Give me some medicine," and he goes, "No, medicine won't help. You got to fix it." So this week is the anniversary. Um, they did the surgery in Tulsa, and I got the scars right here to prove it. But what happened next was the thing. I came home and I had complications, and the next thing I knew, I woke up at another hospital, and I was there for like the entire summer. The entire summer, I'm in the hospital, and I had an infection, bacterial meningitis. So what happened is when you have that, you either lose limbs, die, you lose functions of some of your extremities. But in my case, none of that happened. And they said 8 out of 10 people usually die. So when I came back and it finally settled in, I'm like, hold on. You mean I'm one of the lucky ones? You know what I mean? So that changed me. Do I get mad and upset about things? For a very brief moment, because I always try to find the positive. Bad stuff happens, yeah, and except when I'm at soccer games and yelling at the boy, yeah. But
Ah,
during the day at school, if a student were having a bad moment, our interaction isn't going well, I'll take a step back and say, hey, calm down. We can get through this. Talk to me. Let's see where we're going, And but it's because of my experience with my brain surgery. It changed me. It changed me for the good. Um, I'm not saying bad stuff doesn't happen or I don't lose my cool sometimes, but not for very long. And because of that, because of the blessing that I've had to survive that, I started like, hey, there's a purpose here for me. And my purpose is to add value to every kid at school. Every kid. Every interaction should be a positive one. Yeah, even if I'm getting onto a kid, it's not gonna end with me being mad. It was like, hey, let's get on the same page. So
It's a blessing, though. It's a blessing that you see that it happened for you.
that's
That
what
experience, the whole summer, you missed the summer, like you
I
miss it.
the entire summer. The
So
entire summer.
that it's beautiful that you choose to see that happened for
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
You're using it as you used it as a tool to find your purpose. You're
yeah.
using it as a tool to see, okay, this is a blessing. I am alive.
I'm
I'm
telling you, man.
mobile.
I strongly believe that. I'm completely different. Even with my personal life. Yeah, I'm a much better husband because of that. Yeah, I'm a much better dad. Yeah. So that's what it's
Thank
about. It's got three.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing because sometimes we need contrast in our life, and stories like you
Yeah.
might help us to like, oh wow, he went, through that situation, and look, he came out
You know,
with blessings.
so all the stuff that we go through, life, and oh, this is hard or this is challenging or it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be challenging. Here's another story I can share with you, okay?
Yes.
So when I was coaching the girls, there was this one young lady who we were it was the good year. We were winning. And when you win, everything is so much more fun. So we'll stop to eat after games. It's the girls are playing music on the bus. But while they're playing music on the bus, this one kid, she'll sit there with all her books and she'll be doing stuff. And I'm watching, I'm observing. When we stop to eat at restaurants, McDonald's. Actually, the ones that we go to mostly was Wendy's at Katusa. That was our thing. So she'd stop and she'll get her bags and she'll be doing stuff at the table in the restaurant. So we came back and we're unloading the bus, and she's helping us. And I go, "Why do you do this? Why do you take your books or take that?" And she said, "Well, it's hard, but if I take care of it, no, I don't have to worry about it in the future." That girl is in the College of Optometry right now
Ah,
because she took care of what she had to take care of. And her future is going to be so much better because she went through the hard stuff. Life is supposed to be challenging. And every time you get a challenge, it's just something that's going to make you better every time. I've yet to see a challenge that makes you worse.
yeah, it happens for us to grow. Now we get to decide if it's painful or if we choose to suffer. So
Yeah,
we choose, like we choose to think, yeah, it's going to be painful, but I'm going to do it.
yeah,
Suffering is an option. Suffering is for if we want to complain, it's available, but we move it aside. We don't. Uh,
I like that. I like that. But yeah, we go. These challenges, man, it's just to make you better. Yeah, adversity, you grow. If you're not tested, you won't grow. And that's a part of the whole thing. You have to continue to grow because even as a coach, as a teacher, if you just stop, oh, I know everything, you're dead.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't give your kids life because you know everything. So I constantly try to go learn something new, read a new book, watch stuff, learn info, apply new techniques to coaching. Yeah, but because I want to give the kids life. That's what I
That's
do.
beautiful. They need it. I mean, they need it because
Yeah,
we don't really we know that not every single student lives in a model home. You
yeah,
know, as those that we see on TV, happy mom, happy dad,
yeah,
brother, sister,
yeah.
dog. Not everybody gets to
Oh, you
experience
forget the
that.
picket fence.
Oh yes, yes.
But yeah,
So they need the extra.
it's our job. All right, so I do this every morning. I enter the gym from this one from if you know how it is. We have this ramp, and when I go down the ramp, I yell. I'll say "Yo!" And there's this one kid. Every morning I see myself, Juanito. What I do, it's kind of like my trigger to say, "Yo, I'm in the building," and nothing else is important while I'm in the building. Nothing else. So it doesn't matter what happened at your house the night before, what didn't happen. When I walk in that building, I know, yo, it's game on. And my focus is on these kids. And every moment that they interact with me should be a good one. No, when you leave, okay, it's different. But that ramp, every morning, going down the ramp, it's just something that I do. I say, let's go. It's on. So you go in sometimes and kids are like, hey, why are you so happy? I'm like, dude, I'm at school. You kidding me?
Yeah.
So that's me, Miss Guthrie. That's what I do.
Yes,
Enjoy.
thank you. Thank you for doing that because you're helping the community. You know, you're adding that
Yeah,
value to the kids. And those kids
adding
belong to this community.
added
So it's making a
value.
difference
Added value. You call it having a purpose every day.
every day.
That's what we do. That's what we should do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and now that you say that, I taught genetics. You know, there was a subject of genetics, and I tried to create a special dish like you're talking about. It's like, be,
Ooh,
yeah,
I
I'm
like
telling,
that.
we're making it a quote, I promise. So I would say be grateful for mom and dad. You
Yeah,
know, they gave you this genetic that you have. And
yeah,
we cannot choose who our parents are, but it's like be grateful for them. They happen for you.
yeah,
They're here to teach you something. You know,
yeah,
when they would be like, oh, Miss Catherine, like, no, really. It's like, pay attention. They're here to teach you, maybe to make you even a better mom in the future, a better dad in the future. If
yeah,
you don't like, you know, some of their attitudes, then you can change them. It's your turn to change them. But we have to be grateful because we inherit the DNA. You know, you're here,
yeah,
but here because of them. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you.
Creating those special dishes through the day.
That's what you do, man. That's what we do. You just
Yeah,
like that. You don't have to order from the menu every time. Just
exactly.
get some different. Get some different. Yeah, that's what I do.
I
But
love it.
so something that I've introduced, talking about the boys again, and I wish, I wish they'd read more. I know back to education, right? So they won't read, but what I do, I'll put quotes in our group. Yeah, I keep saying something over and over and over, and after a while, um, they'll start saying it. Oh, we know, we know, we know. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, they got it. So I wish more for kids would read more. That's sort of left field, but that's something I wanted to point out here, like the importance of reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just what's on your cell phone or what's on the World Wide Wasteland, but you can go get books like How to Make Friends and Influence People. Yeah, The Power of Positive Thinking, The Richest Man in Babylon. You can go check out the one of my favorites from John Gordon. Yeah, The Farm. The it's slipping right now, but
I haven't read that one.
oh my God, the Hard Hat by John Gordon. Yeah, The Carpenter by John Gordon. the Energy Bus by John Garden. Yeah. So I've been, and again, I don't just read it. I read it and I start applying it to my kids. It worked.
And you're creating a culture, even though they're not reading the whole book, but you're giving them the seeds. You're creating the
Yeah.
culture. It's like, they're repeating those quotes.
So we in my classes, I'll make a list of books on the board. Hey, you should read this. Hey, you should read that. Yeah. Um, well, that's another thing I do as a teacher at a high school, and I love. I may be the only person who does, but I love every opportunity I get to sub because we do that. If I were to come and sub in someone's class, you best believe we're going to be talking about something that that teacher wouldn't be talking about, and that's another way of adding ordering something from the menu. From
Oh, that's a great idea.
that's what I do.
Hey,
I
beautiful. Yeah, I was going to remind our beautiful audience to begin to create those special dishes, through
yeah,
the day, and then you're going to see and experience the
yeah,
joy and gratitude in your life because you're adding value to your
added
beautiful
value.
people around.
Hey man, we have a theme
Uh,
coming up. With this.
yes, we do. Yes, we do. I see the title. how, how do you handle, like, whenever there is misbehavior, whenever you see they're fighting or arguing between one another? How do you handle that?
Well, I'm sure I don't see everything. There's stuff that goes on that you totally miss, and like the way I was brought up, there may be things that I may not think is a big deal, and somebody else does. So I've learned how to, okay, that's something that needs to get fixed. Well, even before then, um, in our initial meetings, we'll say, yo, everything that's in the student handbook, we're gonna go by that. Yeah. But discipline, it's funny you asked me that. When I interviewed for the job, that was one of the top questions. How do you handle discipline, Mr. Hall? And I said, you bend the tree when it's young. That's something we learned in Jamaica. But we just for me, fortunately, this past couple of years, I hadn't had anything major. So that one's kind of like a challenge for me to answer because um, apart from we go to practice and boys are getting into it physically, and coaching boys is different. After practice, it's like, hey, we're gonna eat. But during practice, they're mad at each other. But if something serious were to come up, I'll make sure I can go back to a moment. Here's one for you. So a couple of years ago, I had a kid who did something. We went to a game, and they're supposed to ride the bus back, and he didn't. If you can ride with your parents if they're there, or if I were to get like board policy, notify me at 24 hours before. Then, but anyway, he did it again, and I go, yo, we can't have that. So I protocol, hey, call my supervisor, say, hey, this happened, and he said, like I said before, Greg, you're gonna have to handle this, and I did. So that kid, my best player, my best player. I said, hey man, we had this situation ready. We talked about it. Well, guess what? You still went ahead and do it. You did it again. So I go, you're gonna have to. He was done. Okay, okay. I'm human. Remember, I said, hey, I'm sorry, but we can't have this. Because if you were to do it, everybody's gonna want to do it. You got to get control. But at the end of the day, Miss Guthrie, you can't just punish. You got to teach. And he was a senior, and as much as I wanted to crack down, a part of me was like, "Yo, how can you learn from this?" So I went, called him in a meeting. I said, "Hey, here's the deal. We'll think about it, and is it time to go? I hope not.
5 more minutes. You're good. We're good.
Hey, so I said, well, think about it. Well, you have to train. And he trained for like 2 weeks and didn't play. He didn't play. And but in the back of my mind, I just wanted him to have a senior night where it's because it wasn't for him. His parents were there. I wanted his parents to him to acknowledge his parents. But long story short, years later, that same player comes to me and say, "Hey, man, I wish I could go back. I would have done things differently." But you have to, as it comes up, and again, you can have the same thing, but you have to treat it different, depend on the individual, depend on the situation. But again, I communicate with my supervisor, and I try to be fair, yeah. And when you're coming up with consequences, you make sure you try to teach through the consequence. So it's not just like, hey, you're done, boom. You always have to teach, and like I said, you end with a positive. So that's where we are.
What are some of the challenges that you see our youth is having right now?
Oh man, we don't have enough time. Like
We
I
have to
said,
schedule another one, another interview.
so this tool right here, every kid has one, but they don't know how to make a call. They can't have a real conversation. Something that they'll be able to call up and say, "Hey, I'd like to make an appointment for this." That's one. That's a challenge. Communicating is a challenge, and that's again coming from um, not reading enough, where you're widening your vocabulary, where you can have a conversation, you have thoughts, you have opinions, you can problem solve. Yeah, you can. They don't know how to take what we're learning and applying it out there. That's something else I try to do. Okay, here's what we're doing. Here's how you can apply it. So their critical thinking skills are weak, in my opinion. Not all the kids, but a lot of them. Yeah. So, and we can get into that for part
Y-
three.
Yes, yes, we're gonna have to because how do you balance your role as a husband, as a father, as a coach?
First of all, my role as a husband comes first. That's it. My wife is it. Yeah. And then my kids. But like I said, when I come to school and I come down that ramp, guess what? The most important thing in the world while I'm here is are those kids. So it's kind of like a juggling. Yeah. If like when we're through tonight, I got to take my kid to practice, and while he's at practice, I call it fancy coffee night. The wife and I are gonna go and have some fancy coffee. Well, you have to have balance. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because I mean, because you said, "Oh, I like my job," which I know you do, but
oh,
people don't know that you're
oh,
there like early in the morning, and
I'm
when
here.
there's game night, you're like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. You make it back, and I'm talking a.m. like all day long, and then
Yeah.
midnight to 1 o'clock, then you go home.
Like I said when I started, there are kids who come to soccer, come to school because of soccer. So I've got to make that experience positive for them. Yeah.
And then sometimes you have to drop kids off at midnight.
Absolutely not a problem at all, man. It's part of the job. It's like you if you're going to be a fireman, don't complain when you have to go put a fire out. It's a part of the job, and I enjoy everything about it.
And I thank you. I mean, it's like I am grateful, and we're blessed to have you. Especially, my oldest has the experience, and my youngest one too, to
Yes, I'm
interact
proud
with
of.
you. Yes.
Hey,
So we're
great. We're running out of time, man, and I
yes,
want to do this again and again and again because there's so many things we can talk about.
yes. We'll move on. We left off on critical thinking for a youth, beautiful youth. I think is so much needed. So
Yeah,
we'll continue. We'll schedule a new one, and we'll have you back. Just because you add value
that's
to
what
our
we do.
show and to our beautiful community. So thank you so much for being here with us
I
and
appreciate
sharing
you,
your
and
time.
I love to see the continued growth that you're doing, you're going through,
Thank
and the sky's the limit.
Yes, thank you for believing in me. Just want to, tell everybody that you believe in me way more than I did when I was planning to
Come on,
do a
man.
podcast.
Come on, man. You're doing great. Keep
So Blessings to you all. Remember that you are the one that gives power to your talents. You're the only one that can give life to your dreams. This show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. You can also rewatch watch the replay on my YouTube channel, Paola Guthrie. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Blessings, blessings.
Thank you. Have a
You're
great day.
welcome.